Hello everyone. I've already done this video once, but I did not like how it came out. So if you saw that it was posted on YouTube earlier, I had reservations about how it came out, and so I wanted to do it again. And so that's what you are seeing here. This is a totally new video, different from the one I posted earlier on May 29th, 2020. What you are looking at on the screen here is the walking directions from the approximate area where John Parra lived, down here using the pen, in the bottom left-hand corner. And then up here in the top right-hand corner is the approximate area where Shelva was living at the time. Now, if any of you go in to try to map this yourself, you should note something. Even though these two locations are only 1.5 miles away, they're actually technically in different areas. And what I mean by that is, this is Market Street down here, but to get this particular location, you have to put in 100 Market Street, Jenkins Township, PA. If you put 100 Market Street, Pittston, PA, it's going to put you somewhere over here, and that is not the right location. Whereas over here, where Shelva was living at the time, that is Cleveland Street, and that is Pittston, PA. Of course, that is the right location. So don't put in 100 Market Street, for example, Pittston, PA. It's not going to give you the right location. This is the accurate route, the accurate locations for where John was living and where Shelva was living. Now, John, his story, whether you want to believe it or not, is that they drove home. They were here, they got into an argument, and Shelva left on foot, seemingly, presumably, to walk back to her place. And that is what you see. This is not a blue line, a solid blue line, because this is in, most of you probably already know this anyway, but if you change this over to car directions, you can see how that changes, how that then becomes a solid blue line, and this goes to 3 minutes. That's how long it would take to drive. Whereas I have it over here on the walking information, and you can see how that changed from 3 minutes to 31 minutes. So according to Google, for Shelva to walk back, the average adult, I think that's how Google, what that means there, the average human walking, average adult human, 31 minutes to walk from here to there. So you can presume that it would take Shelva about the same time. Maybe have to factor in that it was dark. It was the middle of the night. She might have had a couple drinks in her. Who knows what her disposition would be after arguing with John. We just don't know. So there's going to be some variability in that 31-minute number, probably longer. 35 minutes, 38 minutes. I think that is reasonable to expect. Now, you can see looking at this map, and this is what Shirley and Joanne said during my interview with her, that this road does come close to the Susquehanna River. And in fact, this road that Shelva would have been walking is, I think, out here called River Road, and then once it gets into town, maybe it changes names. I think this is actually called River Road, so there you go. But you can see how close this road comes to the river. And I'm sure that's going to cause many of you, and in fact, I'm sure Shelva's family themselves, to think, well, maybe possibly, maybe she was feeling a little depressed, down and out, things aren't going correctly. Maybe she just went down to the river, and then we start maybe thinking of a scenario like Shane Fell, a disappearance unfound, covered back in 2017, where he disappeared right next to the Mississippi River after a car wreck, and we're still not sure what happened there. A lot of theories regarding that. Very possible. And I think that to maybe better understand that, maybe to rule it out or to better rule it in, somebody would have to go back and see what the river, the Susquehanna River in eastern Pennsylvania, was doing at the time of Shelva's disappearance. Had there been a lot of rain, or had there been a drought? How fast was it flowing? What the weather was like? I think there's a lot of things that could be done there. I will admit that I have not looked into that. I think that would certainly factor into whether, if Shelva was not in a healthy state of mind, walking down here, went into the river, and then got swept away. Well, the only way she could get swept away is if the river was moving quite fast. In Shane Fell's situation, it was. I mean, it is the Mississippi. The Susquehanna River is not the Mississippi. In fact, the Susquehanna River isn't even the biggest river or wildest river in Pennsylvania. I would think that would have to go to either the Allegheny or the Ohio. So there's that. I want you to also, though, look at where this is, and you look at this island right there. Now, the reason islands can get formed like that, and you can see it kind of branches off. Part of the river goes this way, part of the river goes that way, and then it meets back up. And I don't even know which way this flows. I don't know if it goes this way or that way. I don't know. It seems to me that it flows this way, being that this is all tapered on this side. It would lead me to believe that the river runs this way. But the reason these kinds of islands get formed like this is because this is an area where the water slows down. At some point before this island existed, for some reason the water would slow down in this area, and what happens is dirt and sand and logs and anything else that may be floating in the river, going with the flow, I guess you'd say. When the river slows down, those particles have an opportunity to sink to the bottom, and over time, then an island gets formed. I'm thinking that's how that happened. Possibly, but I'm not a geologist, but I'm thinking. And you can see what has happened is, as this grew, the river kind of went out this way, and this side kind of kept going straight. But I'm sure at some point, this river was just like straight, and then over time, the water had to find some way to get around that, and that's why it bulged out like that. What it means to me is probably this is not the fastest flowing part of the river. So if Shelva did go in, just don't know. I don't think that if, once again, if we are to believe that she might have committed suicide, that her body wouldn't have gone that far. I think that's what I'm saying. But the river was searched and nothing was found. So I wanted to put that out there. Now, I want to take you down to a street view, and I think you're going to be able to understand why searching for her, if we are to believe, once again, John's story that she started walking, why it's easy to believe that this is a difficult place to search. And so let me do that. I'm going to go down here, take the little orange person, and dump them right there. So we are now on this road. This is Market Street, and we are now pointed toward the river, so kind of in a north direction. So this is what it looks like. The street view was done in 2012, so only 6 years after she disappeared. We can get a 2008 view. That's kind of nice. So this is only 2 years after she disappeared. And this is, when was this? In 2008. Does it even say? August 2008. So a little over 2 years. And I just went there. Let me try this again. It's kind of tough working around the camera, which is my phone. So let's look at this again. And you can tell that with no leaves on the trees, this was obviously taken. When was this taken? April 2012. Whereas this one, with all the leaves on the trees and everything, August of 2008. So 2008, This is what it would have looked like going down here. Remember, this would be at night. There might be a street lamp down here somewhere, I think, when I was doing this before. But you can tell, there's the street light right there, if it's working or not. But you can kind of tell looking to, especially to this right side, not the easiest terrain to search, especially, for amateurs, if that's who was used to search for Shelva when she disappeared. Then we get into here to a few businesses and houses. And then you get to this road right here, and the river is right there. I mean, I think you can even see it. And it is like more, I guess what you'd say, of a real, so you can even see maybe on here, River Road. This is what it's called. You can see the sign right there. And this is a real road with lines on it. I got the double yellow in the middle so nobody passes each other. In contrast to this road over on the side, which was like, it was a 2-lane, but very, very tight. And so this is the way she would have been walking, this direction. You can see there's no sidewalk or anything. Very tight. Very tight walk. And once again, we have to remember this would be at night. And we don't exactly know what the weather was like. I'm guessing there weren't many cars on this road. And if you'll remember from the interview, we just did discuss that. And both of her sisters said nobody ever came forward to say that they saw a woman walking the night that Shelva disappeared. Now, maybe because no cars were on the road, which is the middle of Pennsylvania. It's not Las Vegas. So it's kind of easy to imagine maybe there weren't many cars at all, if any. But you would think over the course of 31 minutes she had to walk, she would have had to have walked from John's to her place, that somebody would have seen her. And you can also see that not before long, you get more into town, and there's more businesses and houses. But once again, middle of the night, maybe 2 in the morning. So it's just hard to say. I think a lot of people are going to be motivated to not believe John's story because we run into these kinds of disappearances all the time. And I know what you, the listeners, think and viewers here on YouTube think. And I know what I think, that some of these stories are not true. Rosemary Rapp, Christy Nichols, Danielle Sleeper, Julie Early, Charlotte Paulus, quite a few disappearances that we've covered like this, where the men in these women's lives are under great suspicion, I think for very good reason. I think Shelva's is a little bit different because looking at this and seeing where she would have been walking and maybe knowing her mental disposition at the time could lead me at least a little more to believe that something happened to her all on her own, and John had nothing to do with it. We also can't forget that her TV was on in her apartment, which could mean a lot of different things. Would have to know more about Shelva to really understand that. Was she the type of person that left the TV on? Some people do leave the TV on. Some people leave their TVs on because they have pets, and they think that leaving the TV on makes the pet feel less lonely. I guess that's the thinking. I'm not a pet owner, so I don't know. Some people leave lights and TVs on because it'll make it look like somebody's home, so people will be less likely to break in. And some people, like myself, sometimes I'll just be leaving my condo here, and I used to do it when I lived in Madeira Beach. Sometimes you're leaving and the TV's still on, and you're like, I don't really feel like trying to find the remote or whatever. And it's like, it's no big deal. It's not using really that much electricity. So you just leave the TV on anyway. For no reason, really. So we just don't know. But it does, the TV being on does add in a quirk to this disappearance. And it'll be up to all of you, of course, to determine what you think of that. But I just wanted to go over this once again, this walking from approximately where John's house is to where Shelva was living takes 31 minutes, probably longer given the conditions that night, being that it was dark, being that who knows what kind of situation Shelva was in mentally. We just don't know. So there you go. Thank you for watching.